What is she doing here? This is absolute bullshit.
Do you feel like, though, you have to do it inside the experiment, though?
We came here for a marriage. We didn't come here to, well, if I don't like you as much, but I like someone else, I'm gonna mistreat you and be with someone else.
I really don't know how I feel about these weekend getaways, and I really am starting to get a bad taste in my mouth for Adrian, because they say, you know, birds of a feather flock together, and the fact that her husband said she's a show-off and she's aligning herself with someone who feels like she's better than other people doesn't make sense to me. The way they try to sort of make themselves feel like they're better than the group is rubbing everybody the wrong way. But anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome back. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight UK, Season 8, Episode 23. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. So the couples are sent to the countryside for a couple of days just to get out of their apartments and for a change of scenery, and I think just to be around one another and sort of help each other navigate this experiment. And surprise, 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 who do you think have suddenly become best friends? The two girls whose husband told her she was better than, and the one whose husband told her that she was a show-off. And then they think, oh, why do you think everybody hates us? And it's like, maybe because you think you're better than most people, and maybe because you like to brag about whatever you have. I can see these girls being a problem with the other girls. I can see them, given time together, I can see Adrian and Erica, because they seem to feed off this I know I'm better than you, or I know better atmosphere, and I don't know how it's going to go down with the rest of the ladies. We'll see how that goes. You have Tasha and Paul checking out their rooms. They are saying, you know, we're a bit too common for this place. This place is too posh for us. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Paul is eager to stay. He wants to look through the telescope and see what's what. We didn't get to see their room though. I don't know. Roz and Thomas are excited about their room. They love their room. And then you have George and Peggy going on about this issue of the video, and it's like, leave it. We've heard enough of it. Either choose to move on or leave it at where it is. And given how Peggy dresses, I don't know where she gets the moral ground to be judging Arthur. The fact that she was criticizing him and stormed out with her buttocks hanging out, and today she's wearing this short skirt that's only covering, you know, her privates, doesn't make sense to me. For her to suddenly have the moral high ground and want to be the one to sort of tell George what is acceptable and what is not, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. I think it would have been different if George was with someone like Rose, who's more decently dressed, someone who's more decently behaved. And so if she were to criticize him, that makes sense. The way Peggy dresses, she has no moral high ground to stand on. And some people on Twitter posted her pictures from Instagram, and it's like, ooh, that's a bit too much. Anyway, and then you have Laura and Arthur going on about the fact that Arthur didn't pack as much as he was supposed to pack. He only packed one formal trousers, one pair of jeans, and the rest are jogging bottoms. And Laura is now looking for somewhere to get him some clothes. And it's like, Laura has to decide whether she's prepared to accept Arthur for who he is or who she wants him to be. She can either turn him into a project and sort of make him out to be the husband that she wants, or she can accept him as he is and keep going. I think he's amazing as he is because he pushes her out of her comfort zone. And if only she could look at it that way, instead of continuing to sort of focus on, oh, I want him to do ABC, I want him to look this way, I want him to dress this way, they're never going to get anywhere. They're never going to get anywhere because Arthur doesn't seem to be that sort of sophisticated. And I don't think even if she had been matched with someone like Thomas, they would have lasted. I think Thomas would have eventually packed it up. So I think her Chelsea guys don't want her. She might as well do with the commoner that she has and keep it moving. So the guys then spend the day on their own. The girls then spend time on their own. And Paul was the first one to bring it up. And it's interesting that everyone has noticed that Erica and Jordan are pot stirrers. They like to cause problems They like to put their 2 pence in when they're not needed. And so he says it in a tactful way, but then George goes in and you've reached rock bottom when George has to tell you off that you're interfering in other people's business when that's exactly what he did before Terrence and Portia split up. So for Jordan to then become defensive, and I like the fact that Paul told him, do not try and antagonize. Look, that's not going to work. Yes, you're saying that your wife sort of understood what you were trying to say, and that's the same problem you're having with the guys, because you're giving your opinion when it's not been asked for, and you're saying things that are incorrect without proper facts. And he was trying to argue, oh, when did I do that? And they brought up the JJ and Bianca situation with Nathaniel and Ella. And he sort of says, well, I had my opinion. And people are like, look, it's like, yes, you had your opinion, but I was basing my opinion on the facts. He had confided in me, so I knew what was going on. So for you to throw him under the bus was not necessary. And it's like, oh my God. And then that's when Ella and JJ re-entered the experiment. I think they were just bought in for ratings. I think Ella must have thrown a fit to say, you encouraged me to, to go ahead with this storyline, and now you're throwing me out. I will not go out. And I think this is why they brought them in. And I think the producers wanted them in, and the experts didn't want them in. And there must have been a back and forth. And Ella must have kicked a stink for them to come back in. So you can see on Adrian's face, you can see on Erica's face that they're not happy. People like Laura, obviously she's unhappy because she was friends with Nathaniel, so she feels some type of way, which is justified. And for Adrian to have an opinion doesn't make sense. In my opinion, she barely spent time with Ella or JJ or Bianca or Nathaniel. She doesn't know anything. And for Erica's just after the drama. She's just after the drama, and that's it. She just wants to be the center of attention, and she'll do anything and everything. Because then she brings up, oh, Ella, you had an issue with me. You and Tasha made me feel unwelcome. You made me feel uncomfortable. She sort of wanted to hint that they bullied her when she first entered the experiment. And she's rolling her eyes, and Tasha had to say to her, why are you rolling your eyes? Why? And you've made a mistake when Jay, of all people, has to tell you that you're out of order. For Jay to tell Erica, Jay was one of Erica's champions, for her to call Erica out and say, what you're saying is inappropriate, means a lot. It says a lot that you have really crossed the line, because Jay doesn't like, confrontation. She doesn't like, rubbing people the wrong way. So for her to speak up says a lot. And then for Ella to apologize and her not to say, oh, your apology is not genuine. Make it make sense. Why do you and your husband want to be the center of attention? Have the two of you decided that your marriage is not working, so you're going to cause as much drama as you can in this experiment? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. You go back to the guys, and everyone is trying to tell Jordan. They've just told him, at times you put your nose in where you shouldn't. They're trying to tell him whether or not JJ comes back into the experiment has nothing to do with you, because it doesn't affect your marriage. And he's kicking off. I am going to say this. Erica and Jordan wanted to be the breakout stars of the season. They came in late. They had a conversation, had an agreement, and decided that they were going to do anything and everything to get themselves as much publicity. Whether the fans liked them or hated them, they were going to do whatever it took to be the most, breakout stars, or to be the one with the most fan base when they left the experiment. That's the impression that I'm getting. So the couples then, are given questions, and so the guys are asked, if you could twist, who would you like to be coupled up with that's not your partner? And everybody says they're happy in their relationships. Even JJ says, no, I'm done, I'm not twisting. But Sean sort of says that, he feels like they have created a great friendship with Mark, but he would like them to progress. And normally when they're in a relationship and they get to this stage and things don't seem to be progressing, he would normally move on. But at the moment, there's no one in the experiment for him to move on to, and he doesn't feel the need to want to move on. So that was interesting. You go over to the girls, they have the same question. Tasha's asked, and Tasha says, well, she would like to, maybe you should consider Thomas. And she says, because he's a very good person. we've all seen he's very patient, he's very caring, he's very attentive, and he is willing to learn. So she says that, and she says, he's got a great sense of humor, and you can see, Ross is like, don't come for my man. Ella's asked, and she says, Paul is another great guy. Paul is a great guy as well as Thomas. So there is that sort of beef in the sense that you have Tasha looking at Ella sideways like, oh, girl, don't come for my man because you've already come for somebody else's man. And she says, no, I'm happy where I am. I'm not coming for your man. And then Jay sort of brings up the issue she has with Luke. And for me, I did say it. At least he gave the same example that he gave to George to his wife. So I have to give him credit for that. It's not like he's hiding what he's saying to the guys to his wife. So he told his wife, and she said she was upset and she really had to have a conversation with him. I think he's not able to articulate what he's saying. I think what he's saying, he wants a relationship where it's 50-50 in the sense that if he has an opinion, he wants someone to sort of challenge his opinion and not just say, okay, that's fine, let's go with it. He wants someone who's also going to feel comfortable enough to contribute their own opinion to a conversation. So if he is saying, let's go left, he wants sort of like Jay to ask him, why are we going left? Why are we not going right? I think we should go right. And then they have a conversation and ask, why do you think we should go right? Why shouldn't we go left? And him sort of arguing his point, and then the two of them can choose a way forward. And I think this is what he's trying to say, but Jay is not able to sort of understand this because he's not articulating himself properly. So it's sad that they're at this point, but I think, as Jordan was saying, that he feels like Luke is trying to self-sabotage in the sense that there is this big thing looming, the fact that they live 4 hours apart, and so he's trying to see if he can break them up before they leave the experiment. That way he doesn't have to go through the heartbreak of the 4-hour distance relationship not working. And I have to accept that, and I give him a lot of credit, Jordan, because he was able to bite his tongue and not say anything. You could tell he was really dying to say something, and all the guys were just looking at him sideways and just hoping that he didn't say anything. And George, for him to sort of bring it up as well, that was good of him. At least he was respectful. I think after the Terrence scenario, he's now learned his lesson, so he stops and thinks before he says whatever he wants to say. These people are messy. The experts and the producers are messy as hell, because how are you going to send people on a break and then get them to answer such, toxic questions, and then they have to see the people they were talking about afterwards? Because they ask, who do you think is the weakest couple? And everybody says Peggy and George. Are we surprised? No. I said it, that I think they're playing up. I think they're playing characters, the two of them. I think they know that they're not working, so they've decided to push this boat till the end. And so you have, everyone giving their examples. And their girls were right. They more or less implied that Peggy is used to a certain type of man who she normally likes, who brings out the best in her. And sadly, George is not it. And the fact that she criticizes, I said it yesterday, that the fact that she nitpicks the things that are at the core of who George is, and she says she doesn't like them, tells you that he's not the guy for her. She doesn't like his hobbies. She doesn't like his work ethic. She doesn't. So what does she like? Because that is who George is. He is outspoken. He is, abrupt. He's whatever comes to mind, he spills out. So what is it does she like? Is it just his physical appearance? Well, if she found him physically attractive, she would have, been intimate with him, but she hasn't. She's withheld that, which makes you believe that, they're not as compatible as they make out. And the girls were trying to say to her, you're just trying to push this boat up the river, and it's not budging. Maybe it's time to jump out and swim, and look for something else. And Tasha was right to say, he doesn't seem like he brings the best out in you. And it's like, she is right, because right from the start, when the show started till now, we haven't seen any difference in her, be it her character, be it the way she presents the way she moves in her relationship. We haven't seen any growth. They always just give each other a peck and that's it. They're still talking about this video. When the video was brought up, she then tried to squash it and say, we squashed the video. And the girls were like, no, it's not just the video. There are other things. Anyway, the guys were then asked, who do you think disrespects their partner? Arthur said, he felt Peggy, and he was right. Peggy disrespects her partner in the sense that she nitpicks him and she's always criticizing everything about him. So he was right about that. But also the guys were right to say Laura, because even Thomas said Laura. Laura came in with an idea of a guy that she wanted, and she has tried her best to turn Arthur into that man, and everybody's watching. And so for Thomas to say, she criticized you for the sound you made when you were kissing, he didn't like that. He thought it was disrespectful, and he is right. If you don't like someone, every single thing they do is going to wind you up, even if it's just the way they breathe, the way they chew, the way, they open their mouth. So for Laura to be nitpicky at certain things like that makes me believe that she's in the same boat as Peggy. She's just trying to push this boat till the end. She's just trying to stay in this marriage until the end of the experiment, and then she'll move on and find her Chelsea boy. And so I think because the guys had called Jordan out, and I think when Jordan spoke, Arthur took great offense to it when he was saying everything that everybody else has said, because it seems the majority of the boys said exactly the same thing, that Laura doesn't seem to appreciate Arthur. And Luke even said that, she's always talking about what she's done to change you or to make you the best version of yourself. But she hasn't spoken about how you have made her the best version of herself. Because even when she was asked, I remember the commitment ceremony, she said, he just cares. He just cares. He doesn't ask me for anything. And it's like, no, there should be more to this relationship. So for me, I think the boys were right. I think George went in a bit hard because he was being petty because he was told that Peggy disrespects him. But I think he was still right to call to say Laura is disrespectful because he couldn't say Peggy is disrespectful. Hey, it is what it is. So the next question is, which couple do you think would not make it in the real world? And both the husbands and the wives pick Laura and Arthur. And do I think they're a strong couple? No. But do I think they're the only ones who wouldn't make it in the real world? No. Because I think JJ and Ella wouldn't make it in the real world as well, because I think if JJ were to meet someone who's more his type, he would just move on to the next person, just the same way he left Bianca. He hasn't done or said anything to prove otherwise. So I'm convinced that they wouldn't work in the real world. Peggy and George wouldn't work in the real world just because they're two totally different people. And so the idea that they would suddenly go from all the issues they've had in the experiment to suddenly working, it would take a lot of work on both sides, and it would take a lot of compromise on both sides in order for them to work. Mark and Sean, if they continue the way they're going, they wouldn't work in the real world, because Sean can only do so much to reassure Mark or to sort of cater to Mark's needs before he's burnt out, as I said before. Who else? I think Adrian and Matt, they would need a lot of work as well. They would need a lot of work because there is this issue whereby Adrian is too, in your face, whereas Matt prefers to be more laid back, so that will take a lot of compromise. And the way Adrian is behaving around Erica and is feeding off Erica leads me to believe that there might be a lot of problems for them. Jordan and Erica, they are another couple that might not survive in the real world just because of their better than, and the fact that they're always adding their own opinion where it's not asked for or where it's not needed, and they lack the tact to be able to address themselves in a more respectful manner. So it's not just Laura and Arthur, and I hate how this is going to create a rift between the two of them, in the sense that it's already sort of making Arthur question his relationship. We all know Laura is trying to make Arthur into the man that she wants. She likes him, but the fact that he's not a Chelsea guy, or the fact that he's not highly intelligent or highly educated, or he's not very posh, I think is the other issue for her. And so they have to take this into account and they have to work on it. The fact that Laura was saying, I don't understand why other people don't see it. You don't need to worry about people seeing how your relationship functions if you are in it for the right reason. You just need to focus on your relationship and leave everything else alone. So after the outing, we have Ella meet up with JJ. I think it's more sexual attraction than anything, because all you can see is they're excited to see each other, they want to make out, and that's it. I don't think there's any depth to that relationship. I might be wrong. I know Ella was saying this is the real deal, she's got an amazing thing. I still believe that she kicked off after they were kicked off the show. I think the producers must have promised her that she would stay on the show if she pursued JJ. And so when she was sent home, I think she kicked off, and this is how she ended up back on the show. Because JJ was saying, you know, Jordan wasn't happy to see me. Tasha expressed that Adrian and Erica weren't happy to see her. And JJ saying, you know, I know that we would work, even in the real world, we'll still work. And it's like, so why are you back in the experiment? You don't need to be in the experiment in order for you to work. Even if you needed help from the experts, you could have still received that on the outside. The producers could have arranged this for you. The two of you just want to be on the show for the sake of being on the show. And that's my opinion. And I'm going to keep to that. You have Peggy meet up with George. I think George has a problem with people of color. I'm going to put it out there. I'm not saying he's a racist, but the fact that the way he spoke and he called Portia, you big ugly thing, and nobody said anything about it. And yet this time when he's told the girls had a problem with us, especially you, and he's told Tasha and Jay thought you were not, you know, I didn't seem happy to every time I was around you. And he goes, I don't care about Tasha. And it's like the way he said it. And then he goes off to sort of describe how, you know, Jay, you know, it's okay. It is what it is. And it's like, so why are you so dismissive about Tasha? But you're okay with Jay saying that? Make it make sense. And for Peggy to be offended that he's not upset about the girls not thinking they're compatible doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Here she goes, kicking up a storm over nothing again. Arthur then catches up with Laura and sort of tells her what the guys were saying and what in particular Jordan says. And you can see that Laura is seething. Although she asks him, you know, how do you feel about it? I think this is a moment for Laura to take a pause and sort of ask herself, does she really like Arthur for the person that he is, or is she just with him just to be on the show? I think she's treated him, yes, she has tried to modify him into the man that she wants him to be, but she hasn't been as bad as Peggy. I think Peggy has been worse. And so the idea that people would say that Laura is treating her husband way worse than George is being treated by Peggy doesn't make any sense. And so for me, I personally feel like some of the people are just saying things just to antagonize the other couples, and some of the people are sort of picking up on other couples' insecurities and sort of trying to shine a light on that and make things bad in their relationships. It's not like they're competing for a prize. So I don't get why people are so nitpicky and want to be called the ones with the best relationship. That doesn't make sense to me. That really doesn't make sense to me. So the idea that people like Jordan and Erica are always putting their mouths where they don't belong and are always saying some of the most insensitive things doesn't make sense. Yes, Laura hasn't been the best of wives. Yes, Peggy hasn't been the best of wives, but there is a way to say something without offending someone. There is a way of saying something without hurting somebody else's feelings. Make that make sense. But anyway, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. And remember to click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 22. Bye guys.